Welcome back to That Dad Guy. It is November the 5th, 2022. It's going to be another beautiful day here, around 21 degrees Celsius. It's currently around 8 or 9 degrees here in the morning. And I've got a few questions that you guys have left for me, so we're going to get into answering those. That's the plan today. So let's start off with the very first one. The first one comes from Eric, and he is in the United States. I think he's actually in Portugal or somewhere right now traveling, but originally from the United States. He says, will you consider showing how you rate and decorate your Sunday cards? I certainly can. I have done it in the past, but I could do that again. I probably would do it as a separate video, so I do up my Sunday videos the way I normally do, and then as I'm creating them, create a second one that might be I could put out on a Monday or Tuesday. So I certainly could do that for you if you like. The next question, he says, can you talk about your voiceover projects? Okay, so way back, I guess earlier in the summer, I had created a little voiceover studio in my basement, or a sound studio in my basement. And since then, I've done a couple projects, mostly like Siri type projects where I use my voice for some programs that are being used elsewhere. So that's what I've done so far. I do want to get more into it. I have put out lots of, what are they called? Demos and things to different people about different YouTube voiceover works. I haven't had any real responses with too many of them. Some of them I've gotten to different stages and had to do some more auditions for, but never got the role in the end. I even had a couple for voiceovers for cartoon characters, which I thought would be a really cool idea. Unfortunately, I didn't get picked in the end for it, but who knows, maybe in the future. Now, I have slacked off with going in and applying for some of these jobs of late. I need to get back at it. I do want to do it, and I just have to make it fit right with all the other things that are going on in my life right now. But I am going to get back into applying more regularly to some of these jobs, and hopefully something will come about of it. So that's what's happening with the voiceover work. All right. Next question comes from Michaela, and she says, is there anything you wish you'd known when you started Postcrossing? And if you could tell new Postcrossers anything, what would it be? When I started Postcrossing, what would I have known? Well, I guess the first thing when starting Postcrossing, which I wish I would have known, is that it gets addictive very quickly. It can get expensive, so you have to pace yourself and budget yourself to what you really want to spend, because you can get overwhelmed with the amount of swaps that are out there, and people that go on the forum and do some of the games and all the activities. I haven't gotten into that, because I find with the swap requests and the friend mail I have, plus my officials that I can now send, which starts at 5 and goes from there. I'm up to 13 now. I find that I'm at kind of a max, or a comfortable max, of where I want to be sending out. So anything more than this would get overwhelming. So as a new postcrosser, you have to be aware that it starts off very slow with those first 5. So you have a tendency to want to go out there and get involved in the round robins, which I'm encouraging you to do if you can, and meeting people through Instagram or whatever and doing swaps that way. You can very quickly get to the point where you're sending a lot of cards. So pace yourself, budget yourself to what's best for you. The second part of that question, if you could tell a new postcrosser anything, what would it be? I think I just did. So I think maybe they go together, because the first question is there anything you wish you'd known? I wish I'd known how addictive it was. And the second part of the question is pace yourself, budget yourself to what you feel comfortable with. Certainly buying postcards, you want to go and find them maybe at second-hand shops. There are all sorts of places maybe you can buy them in bulk through eBay or Marketplace or something like that. Find cheaper options for acquiring the postcards rather than always paying premium prices at tourist destinations. That's a good hint. With postage stamps, I tend to go to the post office to buy mine, but I know lots of people have found ways of getting secondhand postage stamps, as long as they're the legal ones that are not forgeries. You can get those ones, and that sometimes cuts down the cost of postage for you too. So hopefully that helps. Thanks, Michaela. The next question comes from Basil in India. He says, what is the one thing or activity you said to yourself you wouldn't do again, but perhaps you did? Whew. That is a good question. I don't know. Really have to think about that one. What's the one thing or activity you said to yourself you wouldn't do again, but perhaps you did? I don't know. I'm going to come back to that question because I'm going to give myself some more time to think about it. And because I don't know that if there's something that I didn't enjoy doing, I certainly wouldn't do it again. I know, like, fear of heights. I have done some things like the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I've climbed that, enjoyed it. Now, as a 20 odd years later, I don't know if I'd do it again because my fear of heights has increased a little bit. But your question is asking, would I do it again if something that I didn't enjoy the first time? No, I did enjoy that the first time, so that doesn't even make sense. So I don't know, Basil. I don't know at this stage. I'm going to keep going to the questions, and maybe I'll come back to that one. Or I will come back to it and try to get some sort of answer. All right, Kim in the United States says, is the Canadian Post Office struggling to find workers? The USPS, at least in her area, certainly is. A job at the post office used to be considered very lucrative and desirable. Now I have a new carrier every other week. They can't seem to retain the workers. It seems to be citywide. Just wondering how it is there. Someone mentioned there was an issue in the UK. Yeah, they're having strikes over pay. But not able to confirm that. Well, I can confirm through all of my English friends that yes, the UK has been having rotating strikes on when they're actually delivering mail. So it has slowed the mail rate down over there. And there will be a bit of a backlog, and as we ramp into Christmas, that's going to be terrible. So I hope that gets resolved quickly. I know my English friends or UK friends, their mail has been a lot slower getting to them, so hopefully it will get resolved. As far as do we have problems hiring people, I don't think we do. Now, with COVID, there has been a lot more people going out sick and extended times, which means that the people that aren't sick, that are covering, they're rotating through, they're on-call, and full-time temporary workers are filling in routes. So yes, we do have carriers that are different on different routes quite often. So there is a learning curve. There's also going to be some more mistakes if you've got new people doing routes. Covering for people that are off sick. You do find that parcels get put in the wrong spots or letters get put in the wrong mailboxes. So hopefully people are having patience with that. It's very difficult. So that is a struggle I think that the Canadian Post Office is having too, is that with people off, we are having different people covering routes all the time to cover those sicknesses and those leaves. As far as hiring, I think that they're hiring more and more people. One of the difficulties is if you hire too many temporary workers, when all the full-time workers are back, those temporary workers now no longer have any work to do, so they go off and find other jobs. So that does happen too, that you hire a bunch of people and then there isn't enough work for them, so they have to go off somewhere else. Right now, I don't think that's the case because there are a lot of routes that need to be covered with sicknesses that are out there. So hopefully that answers your question, Kim. Thank you very much. The next question comes from Kristen, and she says, what recently watched TV show would you recommend and your favorite dessert? All right, well, the most recent TV show that I watched and completed was called Medici, and it was on Netflix. It came out in 2014. It ran for 3 seasons. It was very fascinating. I really like shows that have kind of a historical background to them, that have a mixture of content in it. This, of course, is about the Italian family in Florence, the Medicis, who in the 1300s to the end of the 1400s basically ran France. They were bankers, so they kind of upset the hierarchy of the noblemen, and so the show was really about that conflict between the two, and how they retained power, how they brought art and culture and philosophy all to a forefront, and how that impacted the papacy. So I thought it was very fascinating. Love the show, so that's one that I would recommend. Other shows that I'm watching, shows like Andor on Disney Plus. That's the new Star Wars series that's currently out. I like things like that. Funny shows like just escaped me. I had something in my head, disappeared. Resident Alien is a good comedy show that I enjoy watching. That season is all done now. So it's been out for a couple seasons, 3 seasons, I think, with that. I know those are the type of shows that I enjoy watching. So hopefully, if any of that stuff interests you, go check it out. And if you've got suggestions for me, go ahead. Please leave comments on it, and I'll look into seeing what they're about. The other question she had was favorite dessert. My favorite dessert is cheesecake. So I used to make them all the time. My wife doesn't really eat cheesecake very much anymore, some for dietary needs, and my son doesn't have it. So my daughter's away. She would normally eat it with me. So right now, if I eat cheesecake, I can't make a whole one for myself. So I usually buy a slice here and there, either at a restaurant, or we have some cheesecake places around town that every once in a while I'll go splurge and get one from there. So that is my favorite dessert. The quickest, cheapest dessert I enjoy are donuts. I show you those all the time. I'm at the point though where I need to cut back on some of those treats that I've been having. I probably need to lose a few pounds. So hopefully I can do that. It's always that struggle. You say, I want to lose this, but then you've got Halloween, you've got Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, you've got Easter. There always seems to be one more holiday that's filled with sweets and chocolates that go along with it. That it just seems to be right around the corner that stops you from having one of those healthy diets. And I don't want to go to the point where I say no treats and go months and months without them. I find I've tried that before. It doesn't really work, because when you fall off the wagon, you go and eat everything. So I've got to find that moderation. I've got to find more exercise to go with it, to go with my regular routine of exercise through work. I need to do more. I have a little bit of a gym in the basement that has cobwebs on it, other than the fact that my son uses it. It has cobwebs from me not using it, at least. So I need to go and do some of that. All right, so that is the last question there. So let's backtrack. Let's go back to Basil's question and say, what is the one activity you said to yourself you wouldn't do again, but perhaps you did? Normally, I think this is kind of a vice type situation, something that you enjoy doing, but you don't want to keep doing it, but you do it anyways. And I think that might have to go back to that food question. I think that kind of answers that. What's the one activity or a thing you said to yourself you wouldn't do again, but perhaps you did? I think it's eating too many treats. It's an activity I love to do. I love to go and buy chocolate bars, get some candies. I've got some friends here that we talk about that I've met through Instagram that we all love food. And so we start talking about it. I love to have a Reese's peanut butter cup. I love, well, not just one. I mean, they come in a pack of 3, so you have to eat all 3 of them. That's my favorite chocolate combination, and it's got to be the original type ones, because the combination of peanut butter to chocolate gets skewed if you get into the really big ones. I know Nicole and I have had this discussion before, and I'm still sticking with the original ones right now, even though I will go back and have a biggie cup to try it out. Swedish berries, if you don't know what those are, look them up. Those are little orange, or not orange, little red berry candies. It's like a jube type thing. Candies, donuts, stopping at Tim Hortons, picking up donuts, going to Halo, getting donuts, ordering Krispy Kremes in to help support local charities. I do that. They have them come in from Montreal, have those. When I go on a trip, if we find a place that has sweets, I try those. So I need to cut back. My sister, actually, when she comes to town to visit my parents, had been bringing me cinnamon buns from this local bakery that I like in Petty-Kodiak. And I've had to ask her to stop. I love them, but they're causing me weight gain, and I need to stop doing that. So that is the one activity that I've tried and that I keep going back to, that I want to find that balance, be able to enjoy a treat from now and again, but also have the exercise in order to maintain a healthy body and character around it. I don't want health issues to start to develop, and at my age I really have to be careful of what my body type turns into, because it's a slippery slope, and it gets harder and harder to lose the weight as we get older and older. So that, Basil, I think is my activity that I said that I wouldn't do again, but sometimes I do. I hope that answers it. I'm not sure if it's the answer that you were looking for, or most of your questions though were pretty good. They're all good. It's just a matter of, some of them are very provocative in the fact that it really makes me think of stuff outside of post-crossing and stamps and all the other things that I kind of talk about in this channel. They kind of delve in a little bit more into the personal side, which I don't mind. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I appreciate everybody this week who has sent in some questions. And you know the drill, that if you want to ask me something, leave a comment at the bottom of this video, and the next Saturday when I do the following one, I will answer it. You have until the next Friday to do that, because I start to film in the morning on the Saturday, and sometimes when people leave it till Saturday, they get missed. So please, between the time you watch this, which hopefully is before next Friday, leave your comment and then I'll answer it. So thank you very much to everybody. Hope you guys have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Bye.